I was going through my closet when I came across a skirt, something that had been forgotten for years. Something I wouldn't normally even think about. I put it on, but as soon as I picked it up, memories of the past filled my mind. It was a piece of my youth, something I associated with a bit of fun and confidence. I wanted to try it on. I wasn't expecting much. But when I looked at myself, I couldn't help smiling at my reflection in the mirror because of the skirt. It was tighter than I remembered. It fit in all the right and wrong places. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Who could it be? I muttered as I opened the door. My nephew Jason was no longer a child. He had grown into a full-fledged adult. He was there with broad shoulders and a confident stance. With a bag full of repair tools and his usual easy smile on his face, he said, "Auntie, you called me. The dripping faucet. Do you remember? Please subscribe to the channel to encourage me." I thought for a moment and remembered. "Oh yes, I completely forgot. Come on in." I turned away, a little embarrassed, and Jason went to the sink in the guest bathroom and started to tend to it. I tried to ignore it. I thought it was just my imagination. To hear more of my stories, you can join me on my channel. As I made my way to the kitchen, I heard Jason calling after me. "Auntie, can you come here for a second?" When I entered the bathroom, Jason was crouched down working. He was holding his tools in one hand and pointing at the pipe with the other. "I think the pipe is stuck," he said. "Can you hold this?" I leaned over to help. Again, a feeling of unease came over me, but I tried to suppress it. Jason began to chat with me as he continued his repair work. He talked about his work, his friends, and his plans for the future. He sounded like he was living a happy life, but my thoughts were elsewhere. I was haunted by the feelings that the old skirt reminded me of. Please subscribe to the channel to give me encouragement. "Auntie, I always remember you as a cheerful person, but now you seem a bit thoughtful," Jason suddenly said. His words made me pause for a moment. He was right. I felt so far away from my old self. I had lost that cheerful self for so long. I took a deep breath and tried to smile at her. "Life is tiring sometimes, Jason, but don't worry, I'm fine," I said. Jason finished his work, washed his hands, and turned to me. "Auntie, remember, your natural state is to be cheerful. Don't lose that." His words echoed deep inside. After Jason left, I took off my skirt and put it back in the closet, but this time I knew there was no point. Maybe instead of hiding it, I should be brave. Brave enough to wear it again one day. The important thing was that I realized I needed to find my old joy. But these peaceful thoughts did not last long. In the night, I found a note left under the door, and I recognized the handwriting. Jason's. A tightness passed through my chest as my heart beat wildly. I opened the note. His writing was precise and thoughtful. "Auntie, I know you. You want me to go, and I respect that, but I can't run away from my feelings. If you don't want me to say a word, I will never bother you again. But if you have the slightest hope, please let me know. You can join my channel to listen to more of my stories." As I read, word by word, mixed emotions boiled inside me. Anger, confusion, and something I had repressed. I folded the note and put it in the drawer. I knew I shouldn't answer, but it wouldn't be enough. I couldn't erase what happened that night from my mind. My phone vibrated as I tried to sleep. It was a text from Jason. "Did you get my note?" I hesitated, but finally answered. "Yes, I did. Jason, this has to stop. It's not healthy for either of us." The reply came immediately. "I just want you to be honest. Do you have feelings for me?" My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trying to find the right answer. Finally, I typed it. "Jason, you are my nephew." That's all I can say. Please subscribe to the channel to give me encouragement. The next morning, I threw myself into work, working hard to put the incident out of my mind. But after a while, as I sat at my desk, I felt a look. I looked out the window and saw Jason, his hands in his pockets, staring fixedly at me. I asked, "Jason, what are you doing here?" "We were supposed to meet," he said. His voice was calm, but he didn't answer my question. I told you last night it's not healthy. We can't keep doing this, I said. But you didn't reject me completely, he said. The confusion inside me was growing. Jason continued. I just want to know. Is there the slightest possibility? The weight of his words was putting a lot of pressure on me, but I knew I had to speak. Absolutely, Jason. It would cause more pain for both of us. He nodded, took a deep breath, and walked away. To hear more of my stories, you can join my channel on the join button. At that moment, I felt a sense of relief, but also a deep sadness. I thought it was all over, but in the night I got another call from Jason. His voice was weak and worried. Auntie, I'm in the hospital. I had an accident. At that moment, all the confusion inside me gave way to panic. I rushed to the hospital, my heart beating wildly as I hurried through the corridors. I was directed to the intensive care unit. With every step, the guilt and uncertainty was weighing on me like a heavy burden. Please subscribe to the channel to give me courage. I asked a nurse about Jason, and she took me to his room. When I saw him, a storm rose up inside me. He was tied to the bed. His face was pale, but he was breathing. I ran to him, touched my hands to his face, and said in a shaky voice with tears in my eyes, Jason, what happened? What have you done to yourself? He had an accident, but it's not life-threatening, the nurse said. He will remain under observation for now, but he is still not fully conscious due to shock and head trauma. You can join my channel to listen to more of my stories. I was relieved by this news, but I couldn't stop the tears in my eyes. After the nurse left the room, I sat by Jason's bedside. I felt a great guilt of not being able to protect him. Maybe I should have stopped him earlier, but I couldn't. In those moments, I realized that it was Jason's love for me that had gotten us into this mess. No matter how strong love is, it can sometimes be the most complicated and destructive emotion. After a while, Jason opened his eyes and saw me. Auntie, he said. His voice was weak, but there was hope in it. It feels like I haven't heard you in a long time. I took his hand and said gently, It's going to be okay, Jason. Calm down, but my words were shaky and insecure. The thoughts running through both of our minds were heavier than the conversation. I noticed the confusion in his eyes, but I couldn't say anything at that moment. Jason stayed in the hospital for a week. I visited him every day, and although he was getting better physically day by day, the scars on his face and the turmoil in his mind still left their mark. One evening, sitting in his room, he suddenly turned to me. Auntie, he said, I apologize for everything. I know it's very difficult. I wanted to change things, but I couldn't. Her words once again made me feel the weight of the situation we were in. I took a deep breath and smiled at him. Jason, listen. Everything has a price, but I don't want to lose you. We just need to find the right path. Please subscribe to the channel to give me courage. He remained silent, a deep confusion in his eyes. But at the same time, I could feel a slight relief. We need more time, he finally said. But we can figure it out together, right? I realized then that this was a complex and difficult journey. Our feelings for each other had perhaps opened the deepest wounds, but it was also finding the right time and understanding that would heal those wounds. This was only the beginning. It would be a long journey back to our old life. But this time, I knew that every step had to be taken more carefully, more consciously. You can join my channel to listen to more of my stories.